If John Foster's out there somewhere in the audience tonight, thank you, John, for giving me the opportunity to have my first and only cover, 1994, Strand, Norway, Frontside 3 Road Gap. Truly a moment in my life I will never forget. And I can't be up here without thanking all the sponsors I've had throughout the years. You know, Lib Technologies, Mike, Pete, makers of the finest snowboards in the world. Thank you guys.
One thing that Jamie is, he's a very loyal person. Even though he doesn't write for Sessions anymore, he did for a long time. And I remember this incident where Quicksilver, I believe, offered him, you know, much more like, here's a blank check, put in what you want, you know, type of, you know, and stayed with us. He's been with Vans, you know, Volcom after us, you know, so he's a very loyal individual, which says a lot about that person.
All right. Because I wanted to go on that trip to go snowboard, and no offense or anything, but you're kind of getting older, and you know, we got this some new guys, some younger guys coming in and film, and I was like, oh, okay, no problem. They're like, you want to film? And I was like, yeah. I was like a dog. I'm like, here's the film camera, and here's the light meter. Like, here's how you load the film, and I was like, I was all eyes and ears. Luckily, I never had any of that training on, like, this is how you're supposed to do it, so you can just try new things. And I always tell my kids, I have 2 boys that are 7 and 10, and I tell them, I go, you know what, there's no rules to life. Like, don't do what everybody else is doing, otherwise you're gonna be standing in line. Like, if you have an idea and you think it's totally crazy and people laugh at you and think it's stupid, keep doing it, because that's what makes the difference, and just like, they will find you.
We had started Volcom in 1991, and in 92, in that summer, we started going up to the Pacific Northwest. We ended up somehow finding Mike Rankwit and doing this little festival on his property, where we camped there for like about a week, and we were working on his big vert ramp, and finally the day came, we had all the bands, and all the skaters showed up, and the Mervyn guys and the Baker guys, and we didn't know anybody. We were just, you know, from Southern California. We went up with Steve Graham, and I met Dave Seoane on the road. We picked him up and went up, and so we kind of was this melting pot of snowboarders and skaters and this Northwest scene that was really cool. And then a couple months later, we went back up for Craig Kelly's wedding up at Mount Baker and met more of those guys like Tex and Fulton and Donnelly and that whole scene, and that's where Jamie all kind of came in. You know, he was one of the younger guys coming up as a snowboarder, and we met him during that first kind of summer fall in '92, and it just it became a part of our DNA at Volcom, and for me personally, it was a special place and special people for me too.
I remember the first time that I saw him ride was at a contest in Squaw Valley. Out of all the people I saw riding that day, Jamie just stuck out. You know, I remember just, you know, his style, and I mean, that's really like the only memory of riding I have from that event. And you know, one of those first impressions that you just don't forget. And then after that, I can't remember, you know, the first time we actually really started hanging out. It wasn't like one like specific moment. It was just kind of like, you know, this, I guess with Volcom and, you know, that crew at the time, just seemed like we were just together.
And there's like pro contests that would come through once or twice, and we had like this hand dug half pipe. But I just remember seeing him, like just no gloves, like some weird dress up shirt, and you know, just ripping, of course. But I was just like, oh, who's that guy? And then, you know, later on you figure out who it is. But I don't even know if he was involved with Volcom. That was probably 6 months before I met him, or maybe a year before I met him. But then once he came in, once he was there, he was just like always there. You know, it was just like Jamie was staying at the house. And in the beginning, it was a huge influence on me because I had just started painting and I was into it. And he was, you know, the guy, of course. So I got a lot from him through that. But he was just always such a good friend from the very beginning. And he was always such a fixture with Volcom. We'd go up to Seattle to see him, hang out at his house for his birthdays. or he'd be down, and it seemed like almost every week he was there.
When you even started hearing about him, it was maybe at the first nationals we went to, where it was just like, he wasn't Jamie Lynn yet. It was just like, oh, there's the, the kind of Northwest Series guys were there. So like, that's kind of your first impression. And for me, that was at like 11 years old. So it's like, so sometimes when we start talking about dates, it was a long time ago. I mean, I know the first time that I met him, because he, you're following him in like videos and magazines and things like that. And we were actually at June Mountain, and it was like kind of the dream scenario. When you got snowed in at June Mountain, it was good because the roads closed and you couldn't get in there, and you were like set for this epic powder day. And I called my brother to go like, we got snowed in at June, like it's Seoane tomorrow, you're so bummed you're not here. And he's like, oh yeah, he's like, really? He's like, Jamie Lynn's coming to Mammoth tomorrow. And I'm just like, no way, like we're stuck. Like my buddy Dustin, I actually got to call him last night just to get the story straight. So we're like stuck in June Lake going like, I can't believe Jamie's in Mammoth and we're at June. And like, so we like fully abandoned like the sickest powder day in June, like waiting for the road to open so we can leave to like jam back to Mammoth to like try and chase him around, which is pretty funny.
For us, we kind of had these little groups of friends. We went from like Big Bear to Mammoth to Tahoe, and then up to the Northwest, up to Baker, and everybody kind of knew everybody. And Steve Graham was a good friend of ours right off the bat, and he kind of knew everyone, and was, we were all just kind of like traveling and running into one another, and all the way from the Mervyn guys, and then the whole Baker scene with the bank slalom. I mean, that was so special to go up there every year and see everybody. It was kind of this come together, and obviously as a snowboarder, the guy's incredible. But as a person and somebody to work with and hang with, he just had such a cool demeanor. He was just humble, and he went with the flow, and when he got on the mountain, he was a leader. Everybody wanted to go ride with Jamie, and if it was during a film shoot, everybody was motivated, and they were seeing what he was doing, and so he was really good to have on those shoots too, in terms of just motivation and people being stoked to have him in the mix. When I think about Jamie, obviously he's got that style that everybody loves, but there's another side to Jamie in terms of just the power. I mean, the guy's built like a tank. He's so strong, and he rides so fast. And when you're with him, I mean, it's one thing to see photos and see video footage and all that, but when you're with him on the mountain, whether it's on a regular mountain or in the backcountry, and you're kind of trying to keep up with him and seeing how he's riding, that's where you really, you see at what level he really is at, and how fast he's going, and how well he reads the mountain, and from the transitions, and how he gets out of stuff. Like, he'll go flying into something, and somehow he just works through it, bing, bang, boom, and then he comes out on his feet and he's gone again. And you're just like, how did he just pull that? How did he do that? And so that's when you go, okay, Jamie is really gnarly. And I had a lot of those experiences with him over the years, riding with him, and just was always just kind of blown away at how good he was, and this other level that he was riding at.